All Russian novels share one characteristic. They all proceed slowly. Fathers and Sons, written by Ivan Turgenev, is the novel I chose. This book is complex and depicts the social conflict in Russia. In this podcast, I'll tell you a brief summary, recommendation, how I would adapt a movie from this, and an analytical comparison of the book to Romeo and Juliet. So without further ado, let's get started. The brief summary. Bazarov was to be considered a talented, fast-minded, and caustic young man, returned from college to his companion's house, Arkady Karnvanagich. As the book proceeds, Bazarov declared the rejection of authority and social custom, which led to the conflicts, misunderstandings, and romantic confusion. These factors completely changed the Karnvanagich household and reflected the changes that were happening in the 19th century of Russia. There were many events where the elders threatened their children. The elders also did things that were unacceptable, such as bringing a new wife and son without informing their children. Throughout the book, there were conflicts and changes in the society that led to many other events. Thus, father and sons depicted the generational quarrel during the social disruption well and portrayed the confrontation of older Russian aristocratic classes to the youth radicalism that foreshadows the revolution that took place in Russia. Recommendations about the book. I would strongly recommend this book to those who can resist books that go slow. Those who are impatient will suffer from reading this book due to the slow progress. However, if you resist the slow progress, you will enjoy the book. This book is calm and filled with analysis of the Russian society. This book's psychological insight influenced the Russian ideology of novels and society, like novels of Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. This book is full with ideas and useful for learning Russian society. I really recommend this to many students because it has a unique flavor. This book is recommended because it gives the reader to reflect upon as they look around at their own complex, changing world. How will I adapt the book to the movie? I will only point out the most exciting and important sections of the book. Also, I would add some action scenes to the movie so that the audience wouldn't fall asleep. Due to a limitation of time, I have to make the movie short. I will not exactly adapt the movie from the book because it would lack creativity. Instead, I will change the script. I would also cast famous actors so that I could attract the audience. The movie will be about 3 hours as well. If I were to follow the exact style in the book, then the movie would be quite a failure. Thus, I would modify some sections and emphasize on the main points, which would be the conflict between their parents and the child. My setting would be the same period as the book is in. Comparison with Romeo and Juliet and the death of Ivanich. First of all, there isn't a huge significant comparison with the Romeo and Juliet because of the mood of the plot is different. So I would compare it with the death of Ivanich a little bit. There isn't much love included in the book Fathers and Sons. The one major comparison is that both novels include the conflict internal and external between their son and or daughter versus their parents. Although the reason for the conflict is different, the idea of having a conflict is similar. In Romeo and Juliet, there was a family conflict between the Montagues and the Capulets. The two families have a bad relationship. Also, Juliet and her dad also fought over her due to the marriage issue. Specifically, starting from Act 3 and Act 4, we can see the conflict between Juliet and her family. Juliet got mad about the fact that she was forced to marry Paris, while she wanted to marry Romeo. Well, in fact, she is already married. However, in Fathers and Sons, Arkady and Bazarov treated their parents with zero respect and thought of them as people younger than them. Not only Arkady and Bazarov, every child in the Russian society was like this in the book. In the Russian society, there was a conflict between the parents and their child. In addition, another comparison was that the children were disrespectful and mocked the elders. The children not only insulted but shouted at them. The kids rebelled to their own parents. Bazarov, for example, challenged Uncle Paul and mocked him. Bazarov had a caustic character, as I explained before. Bazarov went so far that Uncle Paul lost his temper and called him a nihilist. From then, Uncle Paul was always angry when he met Bazarov. Later, Bazarov and Uncle Paul got in a gunfight, where Bazarov shot Uncle Paul. These events are unpredictable to today's world. In Romeo and Juliet, characters like Mercutio mocked many people. For example, in Act 2, Scene 4, Mercutio mocked the nurse and showed disrespectfulness to her, like saying that she was an ancient lady. Last but not least, another comparison was that the children would do whatever they wanted, without permission. In a way, the characters seemed to ignore their parents' orders. In the novel, Fathers and Sons, Arcadia and Bazarov seceded and ventured around. They slept in different houses and they did things that are inappropriate. They drank and played with several different girls. In Romeo and Juliet acted as if they didn't have parents because they did things that shouldn't be done, like illegal marriage that was not asking permission and kissing in a non-formal way. Romeo and Bazarov injured other older people, Cyber and Uncle Paul. Characters from both the book did whatever it was for their pleasure without the consideration of other parents. In terms of the deaths of Ivan, the compare is not specific but as a book, but both books depicted the Russian society and had an influence. Probably this was the main comparison between the two books. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Before I end this, I really want to recommend this book to the whole class for its captivating plot. Thank you and see you later.